Good morning, everybody. It is Monday, March 4th, 8:46 a.m., and we are here back again on the market open. Folks, it's Monday. It's Monday. Once again, another day on planet Earth. We're all here. We're healthy. We're alive. And it's a Monday morning. You know, there's a great story by Albert Camus, French Algerian philosopher, called The Myth of Sisyphus. And in this myth, in this story, Sisyphus is a Greek character cursed by the gods. And his curse that he's left with his entire life is to push a rock up a mountain forever. And when the rock gets to the top of the mountain, the rock falls down and he has to keep doing it. Now, when people read the story, they're like, wow, this is like the most mundane, boring thing that you could be cursed with for your entire life, to push this rock up a mountain forever. Because when the rock comes back down, you have to do it all over again. But Albert Camus ends this story. It's a really fascinating story if people haven't read it, with the final sentence that says, one would imagine Sisyphus is happy. And the reason he says Sisyphus is happy is because that's what life is. We're doing the boring, mundane parts of waking up in the morning, brushing our teeth, showering, going to work, starting over on another Monday after another week. But one would imagine that you would be happy doing that, because what else is there to do? At one point, this is all over. At one point, we all die. So the fact that we're here, back again on a Monday morning, we're alive, we're living on planet freaking Earth, one would imagine we would be happy regardless of whatever we're doing, because we at least have a chance to do something. So it's really exciting to be back here on a Monday morning. And on some Monday mornings, you got Robinhood breaking $17. You've got Bitcoin breaking $65,000. This thing was 50,000 2 weeks ago. Now it's at 65,492. It is less than 5% away from all-time highs. You also have Palantir getting a brand new partnership with Ukraine that we're going to be talking about. Palantir down about 3% because they didn't get into the S&P 500. That's okay. We'll talk about that. Palantir should be in a good situation. And you've got the broader markets doing very well. Nvidia up another 2% at $842 in the pre-market. Sometimes these Monday mornings are not that bad. Thank you, everybody, for joining with me. We got a lot to talk about. Let's get into it for the market open. Valerio, Steve, Corey, Gift Magic, Gerald, Trucker Rob, Kim, Strawberry Cookie, Ray, Sethy Roth, Invisible Voices, Raul, Chris, what's up? Joseph Villegas, Brown Group, Zelena, Corey, Mark, Charles, Mark Strong, Mitch. Thank you all for being here. Benny, Jeremy, Alan, Peter, Brandon. All right, let's get into it. Now, before we get started, just want to say something really quickly, and then we're going to get started with the Palantir news, and then we'll move on to Bitcoin. First of all, it was a pretty emotional weekend for me and my family. Obviously, we made a pretty big announcement on Friday on the channel, and I just want to take a second to say the amount of people that have reached out privately and on Twitter and YouTube, and the amount of just like pure happiness I think that people have showed and love that people showed. It's more than I can imagine, dude. It was one of the most humbling experiences to see strangers across the world that are actually happy for you in the journey that you're on and the potential success you may have. We got a message, Derek, his LinkedIn exploded with messages, and the majority of the messages were basically saying thank you for being a mentor and someone who's basically changing this kid's life and really seeing his potential. This one really rich VC dude messaged Derek, and he was just like, you know, I also see Amit's potential, and I saw him when he was a stupid kid that didn't know what a market cap was, and I'm just so happy someone actually kind of is taking him under his wing and really trying to mold him into becoming someone who's really successful. And you know, Derek started crying seeing these messages because it's just a lot when it hits you. I showed my mom those messages. I showed my mom the video. Let's just say I was holding back tears because my mom was crying. Like, I was reading her some of the messages, and like I can see through my peripheral vision that my mom is like wiping her tears and she's starting to bawl, and I'm just trying to not cry getting through it. I'm like, I'm not gonna cry, but it was pretty emotional, dude. And my mom was bawling her eyes out. I mean, at some point she just couldn't believe what was happening. And I just want to say from the bottom of my fucking heart, like it is something I can't explain, but thank you all for being happy for this situation, for being on this journey, and for actually caring. And I think the cool part about having a community is that we're all here together trying to celebrate everyone's wins and, you know, deal with everyone's losses at the same time. And so when one person's successful in the chat or when one person's on a cool journey, it's just amazing for everyone to kind of be part of that ride and be excited for the thing. I mean, I did not expect people to actually message privately saying they were genuinely happy, you know, genuinely happy for someone else. And it means a lot. And I think what that is a testament to this community. I think that's a testament to the authenticity we're building. I think that's a testament to not being narcissistic, egotistic, or selling out, or, trying to just monetize or try. I think it's a testament to me having this dream job, which I love, which I've worked for years to build. And now it's kind of materializing, and we're kind of in the S curve of where we can really take this, and everyone's on this journey and they're excited to be here. And so from the bottom of my heart, thank you everybody for being here. And thank you for enjoying the journey that we're all on. And thank you to Derek for coming on to that stream on Friday and really kind of introducing himself to the world. Again, he didn't have to do that, but it was a really, really exciting thing. So thank you everybody for that. That was amazing on Friday. And now we got an entire market to analyze. All right. So let's do Palantir. Also, one quick comment from Derek. This is something me and Derek are working on, by the way. We want to give back to this community. I have been dying to give back to this community. I'm like, do I give, $50 Amazon gift cards? I'm like, no. Like, I'm trying to figure out, how do I fucking give back to you guys? Because my heart is just pouring with wanting to give back. And so me and Derek have been working behind the scenes, as you can see in the comment in the chat that I highlighted. Soon we will bring deals to the community. Let's just say Derek has a lot of connections. I'm starting to have more connections. We are going to bring deals to this community, deals that are a bit earlier than, typical deals you get in the stock market, much earlier than that. So big things are coming in the future. If you're part of this community, then you will have access to certain things that we're working on behind the scenes. There's a lot of different ways we can organize this stuff. And let's see. I mean, these startups are very exclusive to get into. Most people don't have access to them. Derek obviously has a lot of connections, and given what we're building together, maybe there's a way that a lot of people can get access to these seed, Series A, Series B startups, and we'll see in the future. So good stuff to come in the future. And thank you everybody for being here. It just means the world. It means a lot, dude. My mom crying, it was tough seeing her cry that much, because it was just, at the end of the day, you just want to make your mom happy. At the end of the day, you just want to make your mom happy, and she was pretty happy. So, okay, Palantir. Let's get into Palantir. Palantir launches a brand new deal. Palantir launches a brand new deal with Ukraine. So this was a really, really, really cool deal. This was a really, really, really cool deal. Palantir and the Ministry of Economy of Ukraine signs a demining partnership. This news actually broke over the weekend. Now we got an official piece of news this morning by Palantir themselves. So let me read a little bit off of this. Palantir has signed a partnership with the Ministry of Economy of Ukraine, which will pave the way for the rollout of a digitally led demining approach backed by Palantir's AI-enabled software. Now, what is demining? Essentially, landmines are when you step into something and you go kaboom, right? You blow up. Sorry to be that grotesque, but that's how it is. And that's what, when you're having a war, people have landmines and you step in them and you could potentially die. So if you could use AI-enabled software to see the landmines before someone steps into it and make sure they don't go kaboom, well, that's a really good thing. That's a very, very good thing. This agreement has three things: digitization of humanitarian demining operations and process automation as outlined in the National Mine Action Strategy for the period until 2033, enhancing digital capabilities for coordination of land release and assessment, region prioritization, and risk management in mining action, and enabling assistance leveraging Palantir's AIP for decision-making for mine action. This deal, did you see that number? 2033. This is a freaking 10-year deal. We got a 10-year deal. Now, I don't know how much money this is worth. I don't know, what this is going to look like in the future. But what matters is that we gave Ukraine a deal for free back in 2022 when they were just under attack. And we've worked with them so intimately that we now got this deal. Even if this deal is free, the fact is these NATO countries are going to spend hundreds of billions of dollars on Palantir. That is going to happen. We just don't know when. They need to make sure that Palantir is actually being effective with one of the countries that's under attack right now, which is Ukraine. And in order for them to see Palantir as effective, to see Palantir as this beacon of light, to see Palantir's technology as like something they just have to have no matter what, like kind of insurance against their sovereignty being threatened by Russia, especially those countries on the Baltic states like Lithuania and Poland, well, they need to see Palantir getting deals like this. I think there is some money involved in this. Ukraine's been getting hundreds of billions of dollars from the United States government, so I would imagine some of that money is going to Palantir. But even if there's not, this is a very good partnership for Palantir. This is going to pay dividends in the future, and it's really nice to see Palantir continue to lock in more deals with Ukraine. So big deal for Palantir. Now, S&P 500 news. Palantir did not make the S&P 500. Somehow, on Friday afternoon, we had 2,000 people in the market close. I was wondering, like, why are there 2,000 people here? And then I realized, I put in the title, let's see if Palantir joins the S&P 500. So somehow everyone knew that Friday was the day that maybe we would get into the S&P 500. I think it speaks to how deep the community is to want to see this happen and want to see this news. And then at 5:15, we got the news that SMCI and Deckers The shoe brand, dude. The shoe brand, the thing that like people wear when they're going to like football, like a football coach would wear. Like that's what got in. Now, granted, Decker's net income is 4x Palantir, so I get it. But and their institutional ownership is much higher, but still, we did not make the S&P 500. To me, it's actually, not the worst thing in the world. We have more time to accumulate. We have more time to be able to see what can happen for Palantir in the future. And as a result of that, I don't think it's the biggest issue in the world. It's just a question of, it's going to take a little bit more time for us to get there. But SMCI is exploding now in the pre-markets. SMCI right now, where's SMCI? Bitcoin, 65,400. SMCI is $1,048. It's up 15% in the pre-markets. And the reason it's up is because they are in the S&P 500. So when I was laughing that they got the price target to 1,040 from Bank of America, yeah, I should have not been laughing. Those people are laughing at me. Let me share my screen right here. You guys can see this. Yeah. Okay. So I'm sharing this from my separate computer because my Mac right now is being a little weird. So we're seeing it right here. So right here, you're seeing on Bitcoin. You're seeing right now. Here we go. Bitcoin, 65,301. It's actually loading really well. Okay. So this computer is being good with Weeble. 65,300. That's loading up really well. Nvidia right now, the pre-market's 841. And then SMCI that got in is at $1,046 right now. So again, no S&P inclusion. Palantir is down actually on that news. We've dropped like 2370. Right now we're at 2445. So we're down 2%. We were down about 4%. That's okay. Eventually we'll get in. It's just going to take some time. But the fact that we we were in the running for it is really good. The big thing about Palantir is their institutional ownership is low. Once that increases, I think we'll get in. It will happen this year, in my opinion. Just might take some time, which is totally fine. Okay, cool. Let's move on. Lars says, notice me, Amit. Notice me, Lars. Thank you for being in the chat. You are noticed. Thank you for being here. Sathis P, thank you for becoming a channel member on YouTube. Thank you so much for being here. Okay, cool. Let's move on. So that was the Palantir news. Let's move on to Bitcoin. Bitcoin right now, 65,177. What is causing this inflow on Bitcoin? Why is this happening? And why is Bitcoin going higher? Well, I think, it's not really I think, I feel that the Bitcoin ETFs are getting to a point where they can't really find enough coins, which is why the pressure is getting higher. On top of that, if you look at some of the activity going on in the Asian markets, more of those ETFs are starting to be filed, starting to prop up. And as a result of that, there's just a ton more activity happening in regards to the people that want exposure to Bitcoin. Here's a couple of tweets that I think are very important to understand on Bitcoin. So right here, Bitcoin is trading 27% above the 2021 highs when priced in Japanese yen, the world's third largest currency by trade volume. This one has been a great tool to foreshadow where the price of Bitcoin is going. This decisive breakout between Bitcoin in Japan versus Bitcoin in the US is showing $87,000 soon on the technical. So we're seeing a lot of momentum there. BlackRock inflows have now had 1.73 billion in the last 3 trading days. That doesn't mean they have 1.73 billion under management. That means that's how much money came in. That money can also come out, right? People can sell it. But the fact that that money is coming in is exciting. BlackRock themselves officially has $10 billion under management, which is really exciting. The 9 new Bitcoin ETFs have achieved 21.17 billion in total assets. Gold, by the way, is at about 90 billion. So, I mean, it's coming up pretty soon. This is the fastest launch to ETFs ever in the history of ETFs. I mean, ETFs don't get $20 billion in 31 days. You have to have an outstanding amount of demand. The new Michael Saylor lecture over the weekend was fascinating. Whatever opinion you have on Michael Saylor, he had the same perspective as me. What he said in that lecture was actually really interesting. He was like me. He was someone who didn't believe it. Then he was someone who got kind of interested. Then he was someone who thought, all right, I'm just going to trade it. I'm going to buy and sell it. Then he became, a broader believer. Now he's become a maximalist in terms of just understanding that the inevitable conclusion is Bitcoin. I don't think I'm at the maximist part yet, but over the weekend, as I was reading it, listening to it a lot more, I just started to understand at least a little bit around what he's arguing in regards to supply, demand, and scarcity. And yeah, I'm late to the party, 65,000, whatever, the price goes up. And so now you think that's the case. Sure. But I think in general, if you just look at it from a philosophical perspective, I am philosophically intrigued by Bitcoin. My whole portfolio is not in Bitcoin. I'm not at the maximalist point yet, but I am at a point where I'm like, we can't keep, in 100 days, the United States debt will go up by another $1 trillion. We can't do that anymore. And at some point, either that breaks or we debase our currency, and you need something that's scarce. And I think as a 26-year-old, when I'm seeing this happen in front of my eyes, you start to realize, well, where do I want to protect my money for the next 50 years? And something like a Bitcoin makes sense. Also, over the weekend, I ended up paying someone I'm working with $1,000 in Bitcoin. And I pay them $1,000 in Bitcoin. It took 20 minutes for them to get it. And it's just one of those things where it's like, I am feeling the utility of it. I'm seeing the utility. This guy wanted Bitcoin. I sent him $1,000 in Bitcoin, gets it in 20 minutes. No banks, no PayPal, no holding fees, permissionless. Boom, it's sent. I get a service. He gets value. The reason he wants Bitcoin is because it is technically a store of value for him, even though other people may not believe it's necessarily a store of value. So from that perspective, I'm just seeing a lot of use cases in it. And my play on Bitcoin is some of the more proxy stocks that are out there that I think there's some more leverage on, but I am starting to understand the asset itself. Another thing that Michael Saylor talked about that was really interesting is that companies have the most cash they've ever had in the history of the stock market, just given how earnings have done, how AI has propelled their earnings, decreased costs, etc. That money needs to go somewhere. And that money, once they have the ability to allocate to Bitcoin ETFs as a 1 or 2% of their holdings, I don't know if Apple would do this, but Apple has $200 billion in cash. If they put $1 billion there, that's $1 billion into Bitcoin, but that's $1 billion that might end up growing really well for them over the next decade as they diversify, which is incredibly important. On top of that, right now, banks don't allow you to use your Bitcoin holdings or your Bitcoin ETFs as collateral to pay for other things. Once the Bitcoin ETFs become not only institutionalized, but normalized at a scale like that the S&P 500 or the NASDAQ is, they will be collateralized and you can take loans against those things. And that creates even more pressure on those ETFs, which creates more buy-side pressure, more people that want to access those ETFs, and you get to use them as a legitimate asset. When you can, people can collateralize their house and take loans out against their house. When you can do that against your stocks or your Bitcoin ETFs or your Bitcoin holdings, that's a very big deal. A very, very big deal. It legitimizes the asset even more. And the only reason the bank would do that is because they don't think it's going to necessarily fall in value, because they believe at this point, if Bitcoin's at 100,000, this thing's probably going to be, stuck in a certain range, which means it's okay to collateralize. So it's really exciting to see where it's happening. And I think there's a broader issue for how Bitcoin can operate. The Nigerian prince is back. Look, whatever you guys want to say about the Nigerian prince, he's doing a damn good job on what he's building for me. So shout out to my guy. He's doing his thing. Okay, let's quickly talk about, there's more stuff I have to say on Bitcoin, but let's quickly talk about Robinhood. I said let's talk about Robinhood at 17 minutes and 15 seconds because I'm doing the timestamps in the video description. And Robinhood today, let's see if it's at 7:15. It's at 17:13. I love it. It's at 17:13 right now on Robinhood. Okay, so why is Robinhood breaking out? It's funny. I published a decent amount of due diligence on Robinhood over the weekend. And I think that the due diligence is starting to materialize itself in terms of what we're seeing right now. So what did I publish over the weekend? Basically, I went really deep into their crypto revenues and the card that they're doing, this X1 credit card that they bought for $100 million. I'll put the link in the chat. I'm not going to read the whole thing because honestly, I wrote like essays on Twitter. I'm surprised people read through all of it, but it seems like people read a lot of it. But I wrote a lot. But I was trying to crunch the numbers. This was Saturday night. I was trying to I doubled down on my position at 14:30 from initial entry at 9. So I bought at 9 in December, and then at 14:30 2 Fridays ago, I was like, you know what? I don't think I was bullish enough. My price target was 15 by the end of the year, maybe 18. I underestimated the craze of crypto and what it would actually do. So from that perspective, I kind of doubled down. And so I wanted to make sense of me doubling down. And this is what I saw. We did 12.8 billion in crypto notional trading volumes last quarter. In the month of January, we did 5.9 billion. We basically did half of all trading volumes that we did in Q4. So Q4, we did $43 million of revenue. We're basically already at 20 million if you just do a rough estimate of 50% of the revenues. February was an insane month, and March seems to be an insane month. By the way, Dogecoin is up 90%. Most people buy Dogecoin on Robinhood. So the level of trading volumes on Robinhood are going to be astronomical in comparison to Q4, which is going to jump crypto revenue. I think we could see a $60 million quarter just off Bitcoin alone. And as a result of that, that's going to be very important. And I think the street figured that out, Robinhood up about 3%. Now, look, does Robinhood dip down to 1680, 1690 when it opens? Probably. Quite frankly, probably, especially if Bitcoin takes a little bit of a breather and just falls back to like 64, 63, which absolutely could happen. But if it doesn't, then we're in this new 17 range, and there's going to be FOMO coming into Robinhood. A lot of people are going to want to buy the dip. Then this credit card, very quick overview. They bought X1 for 104 million. Right now, it did 5 million for them in Q4. I think Robinhood's going to explode the credit card revenue. And the main reason for that is because X1 doesn't use your credit score to be able to assess the line of credit they give you. They use your income. That's the innovation. That's why they grew so quick. I did some research on them. Max Levchin, the CEO of a firm, he invested in these guys. David Sachs invested in these guys. So they had an all-star list of investors. They had 600,000 people on their wait list in 2022 before they launched. It's a nice metal card, tons and tons of features. I mean, the points and rewards they give, that's not an original concept with credit cards, but from what I'm seeing in terms of research I'm doing, it is far beyond what like a Chase or a Goldman Sachs card can give you. It's made for millennials, Gen Z, and in the App Store, they have 12,000 ratings. And it's 4.9 out of 5 stars, which means people love the product. And that makes sense why Vlad bought it, because he's a product guy. He wants to have good products integrate with Robinhood. So to me, that makes a lot of sense that they bought that card. And as a result of that, the street is kind of looking at what Robinhood can do right now at $17.11. By the way, Robinhood, to me, people have been asking, do you think it's still cheap? Yes. And I'm not saying that because I'm biased. I'm looking at the numbers themselves. I mean, give me an argument for why it's not cheap. 14.5 billion minus 6 billion in cash. You have an $8 billion company growing 37% year over year. That's going to have crypto revenues explode. That's going to have gold memberships explode. That's unveiling a new credit card. That's going to have user growth explode. And their deposits are up 44% year over year. That multiple from 8 billion on their revenue is nothing. And I mean, goodness gracious, they're freaking profitable. Like with interest rates at 5.5%, they've just executed. So to me, yes, it is still cheap. And now my price target is 25 end of year. Now Bitcoin takes a shit and we get rug pulled on Bitcoin. That goes away because Bitcoin is sort of the catalyst that's allowing this to happen. But from all the due diligence we've been doing, I don't think Bitcoin, goes back to 30,000. Could it take a breather? Could it fall back to 58, 57? Of course. But I don't necessarily think it absolutely collapses the way some people think it could happen. And as a result of that, I think some of these crypto plays are going to be good. Another piece of due diligence right here. Robinhood is now number 12 on the App Store. Coinbase, which by the way, in the pre-markets, Coinbase is at $2.20. It's $30 away from their IPO price. Coinbase is number 11. This is another thing to tell you that crypto's coming back. Crypto is indeed coming back and retail is coming back. Dude, Robinhood and Coinbase to be at the top of the App Store with JP Morgan, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, at least in the United States, that's a big deal. Like those are massive $1 trillion company, trillions of dollars of GMV that they're processing. There's so many people across the world that are using Chase and Bank of America. For Robinhood and crypto, these tiny little, in Coinbase, these tiny little brokerages to be budding with these guys, that just means that they're getting an influx of demand. Peter Girardi says, do not buy crypto through Robinhood. They only let you take out 5,000 a day. I did that 2 days in a row and they froze my account for suspicious activity. Here's what I'll say. Buying crypto on Robinhood, yes, they only allow 5,000 you can take out in a day. And I think they're going to change that because they're seeing all the demand they're having. But the average person that's buying crypto on Robinhood is not trying to take out 5,000. They're trying to buy and sell crypto, right? So the average person that's downloading it right now that works at some random job and they have a couple $1,000 and they want to chase Bitcoin, they're just buying it and they just need something quick to buy it at and quick to sell it at. So to me, I think the far majority of retail investors that get introduced to Robinhood, they're not sophisticated. They don't care about a hot wallet, a cold storage, a self-storage. They don't give a shit about that. They just care, can I get access to the asset? And that's it. And if Robinhood provides them that, then that's going to be important for them. Peter Girardi, thank you for the $5 super chat as well. Arnie says, how often have you used 24-hour trading? This is another thing, guys. Last thing I'll say on this, and then we'll move on. 24-hour trading is a very, very, very big deal. I know other brokerages offer it, but dude, Robinhood on Twitter, on finance Twitter, gets the party started every single night at 8 p.m. Here is a pretty big account last night that tweeted about Robinhood, and they have 100,000 followers. And their argument was, well, on the 24-hour trading market, Robinhood is up, or SMCI is up, right? So when these accounts are using Robinhood as the benchmark to be able to make their takes on Twitter, to be able to like talk about price action, that's a big deal. And the reason that's a big deal is because these are not small sample sizes. Palantir had 147,000 shares traded overnight. It's actually a really small sample size. It usually reflects what's going to happen in the pre-market. Palantir is down in the pre-market. Robinhood was up last night on overnight. Robinhood's up right now in the pre-market. Nvidia was up 2%. Nvidia's up 2% now in the pre-market. So you're seeing a lot of the proximity between 24-hour trading and pre-markets. More brokerages are eventually going to catch up, but until they do, Robinhood has a pseudo monopoly on people talking about what's happening in the 24-hour markets because of their app. No one's using IKBR or Trading 2112 to describe what's going on in the 24-hour trading markets. It's happening on Robinhood. So that's also very, very excited as well, given what's happening here on Robinhood. So there you go. We got Coinbase as well. That's doing really well. Coinbase, you guys can see this at 218 in the pre-markets. Let's look at the crypto watch list right now. MicroStrategy is up 10%. This stock was $400 back in back in what? It was back in January. So that, I mean, we're seeing a lot more momentum there. You've got CleanSpark up another 5% as well. CleanSpark right here up 5%. 1871, Coinbase up 6%, Riot is up 3%, Marathon is up 2.89%. Marathon kind of getting back to some of the losses they had on earnings, so that was a good dip for those that got in. Robinhood obviously up 2.9%, Bitfarms up 3% as well. Ethereum 3,500, Ethereum is basically starting to break out, and then you got Bitcoin at 65,127 today. Mag 7 in the pre-markets is down. Apple's down another 1.2%, 177. They're starting to get to their 2024 lows. Microsoft at 413. Meta's breaking out. Meta's one of the only Mag 7 that's reaching all-time highs consistently because, I mean, I think the dividend and the buybacks and the growth, I mean, and also, guys, it's an election year. We forget to talk about the fact it's an election year. There's going to be way more money spent on advertising. So you're going to see that with Meta. Google's down another 1% in the pre-markets. Amazon at 177. NVIDIA up 2.27%, and Tesla at 1.58. Now, here's one thing I want to show you guys on NVIDIA, and not just NVIDIA, but the broader market. So I tweeted this last night, and I think this is a really important take. I want to get everyone's perspective on this. The S&P 500 is only up. It's only up 6.7% from the 2022 top. S&P right now is 511. Okay, so S&P is down a little bit in the pre-markets. So yes, it's rebounded well from 3,400 on the October 2022 lows, but we are only up 6% from where we were before we took the massive crash. This is not 2021 where the NASDAQ and the S&P are just going up to go up, and interest rates are not zero. This run has been supported by earnings growth. And like, I think when I say, or when anyone says that, people can't believe it. It's not debatable. Like, we saw companies get crushed. Facebook go to $88 when their earnings disappointed as interest rates were rising. The market is not giving companies the benefit of the doubt unless they put up the numbers. Name me one company that got the benefit of the doubt that stock has went up dramatically because they put up numbers. I don't think you can name one of those. I mean, SMCI put up fire numbers, even if we don't like the fact that it's looking like a meme coin on the chart. Coinbase put up phenomenal numbers. Palantir put up phenomenal numbers. NVIDIA put up astronomical numbers. Robinhood put up great numbers. They were gap profitable. Every company that's put up numbers has been rewarded, and the companies that didn't put up numbers, like Unity, got smashed. So even Palo Alto Networks, I mean, they had pretty good numbers and the market smashed them as well. So it's not like things are just going up to go up. Yes, there's some meme coins. Yes, there's some, lunars going up, random meme stocks, but I don't think that's the far majority of the picture, whereas in 2021, that was a picture. Inflation is down from 10 to 3%. AI is increasing productivity. Bitcoin has received $50 billion in inflows, and there's $6 trillion on the sidelines. S&P is only up 6% from where we were, which means for people saying, oh my God, it's up too much. Yeah, it's up too much from the lows, but maybe we were never supposed to get that low. But we did get that low, obviously, because the market crashed, interest rates, and now we're back to where we should be. So it's really interesting kind of seeing how that's playing out. And that's why we're seeing a lot more momentum in the context of the market and the context of equities. All right, let's talk about Apple. They are getting sued for $2 billion. Let's get a quick update on that. This was bound to happen because Apple is taking way too much money from these companies that are just trying to make a living, Spotify being one of them. So let's get an update here on why Apple is being fined for 2 billion euros from the EU.
Some breaking news out of Europe concerning Apple. Steve Kovac is here. He's got the details on that. Hey, Steve.
Yeah, this is a $1.8 billion euro fine, rather. That's about 1.9 and change in US dollars against Apple. This is over Apple Music in Europe. Spotify filed a complaint with the European Commission several years ago. And this is all the same stuff, guys, that we've been talking about, just the fees that Apple takes, Apple's inability, or rather Spotify's inability to charge within its app without actually, taking or giving Apple that cut. Apple's response here, they said they are going to appeal the decision, and they lay out, there's a big blog post going up any minute now from Apple, kind of ripping apart this decision, basically saying things like Spotify has taken advantage of the Apple ecosystem by paying.
That's absolute nonsense, dude. If anyone's like, Apple cannot say, I mean, they're probably going to win because their lawyers are the best, but they cannot say Spotify's taking advantage of Apple, dude. That's insane.
Basically no commission fees by kind of getting around those fees. I talked to
they went around those fees because, like, if you buy through the App Store, you have to pay 30% to Apple. So they force you to go to the desktop. That's just smart. That's just trying to protect your margins on a business that barely has any margins with Spotify.
Spotify's lawyers about this last week, guys, and their position on this is, well, we want to pay less fees. Of course, they want to make more money. But what they also say is, Apple's ecosystem wouldn't be as successful without these third-party apps. Who wants to buy a phone that you can't, download a third-party app on? So their position is, well, we're adding value to this Apple ecosystem, to us and a lot of other developers. Clearly,
okay, that argument might not be the best because people can download other music apps. So that's I think they should get a better argument to that, because I mean, if Spotify goes away, like, it would suck, but I don't think the world's gonna end. So yeah, it's maybe not the best argument, I think, from them.
The EU agrees more with Spotify. This is going to be about $1.9 billion fine for Apple. Of course, they're going to appeal and work through. But this is also, guys, coming ahead of later this week, the Digital Markets Act, that big muscular EU law over there that's going to really crack down on Apple and Google and Facebook and so many other big tech, US tech companies. Those rules go into full effect. I'll have more reporting on that later this week. But this is just one beat in just this big drama between these companies.
Is this the one where they kind of whittled it down over time?
Exactly.
This is basically them saying you have to at least allow the developers to have their own subscription signups within, instead of saying you have to use Apple Pay for these things.
Basically, yes. And that's going to be part of the Digital Markets Act as well. So these are separate cases, but related. And so the Digital Markets Act, in theory, takes care of a lot of this. But we're looking here, this fine.
This is a much bigger fine than
it was reported 500 million euros.
That's what I was going to say.
So this is...
Yeah, so they're down $2 billion. Right now, Apple's down in the pre-markets. Apple right now, they're struggling with a lot of stuff, man. That Vision Pro, I don't think is selling as much as they thought it would sell. Obviously, the PE is still overinflated for a company that's not growing. Right now, 177. Now they got a $2 billion lawsuit, £2 billion lawsuit to deal with. And then on top of that, you've just got rotation in general out of Mag 7, besides NVIDIA, into small caps and into companies that haven't rallied, that broader sector, and companies that have a catalyst. In my opinion, 2024 is about companies that are not as big as the Apples of the world, that are profitable, and that have catalysts. And catalysts usually coming from some of that crypto craze that's happening as well. And when interest rates come down, I mean, that's also another catalyst. So there's a lot of reasons to not have your money stuck in Apple. And I think the market's looking at that. Now, granted, I don't know, maybe the market thinks this is a good dip to buy, but so far we've seen Apple flat all year, because I think the market's kind of worried that what's the next thing. Now, the AI app store, the AI iPhone, that stuff is all cool, but that's not material yet. The market's not going to front run that for a company that's at a 30 PE and not growing. They're not going to give you that premium yet. They probably will later, which is why maybe it's not bad to buy it at 180, and that 250 price target Wedbush has might happen. But the market's probably going to need to wait and see before they give that premium right now. Okay, so what else did I wanted to show you guys this one thing here. Oh yes. Okay. So I have been consistently wrong on something for the past 5 weeks. I've been consistently wrong on something. And it's because I guess I'm a novice in this thing that is happening. Every week, every Monday, we start the show. I'm like, all right, so this is the last week of earnings. This is done. We don't have that many earnings left. And every week I'm wrong. Folks, this is another big week of earnings. Look at this. This is a big week of earnings. Every day at the market close, we're going to have an earnings call that we listen to, except Friday. So Monday through Thursday, we have, I think as a community, been getting really smart, just listening to all these companies speak in different ways and learn about all the different things they're talking about. Some of these companies are incredibly boring, and we had to end it a little early. Cough, cough, Rocket Lab. That was the most boring call I've heard in my entire life for a company that's supposed to be so exciting. But we have a ton of earnings. So what are the earnings I'm looking forward to? And put in the chat, out of these names, what earnings do you think are the most important? After the close today, GitLab, super important. GitLab is similar to GitHub. GitHub got bought for $7.5 billion by Microsoft. It's a DevOps deployment platform for software, so that's going to be really exciting. Google owns a shit ton of GitLab. I thought they were going to acquire them the way they were buying their shares on the open market last year, but that didn't end up happening. Also, SEMrush, that's an SEO tool. It's a smaller company, but that's an interesting one to me. And Stitch Fix. Stitch Fix is a stock. It's a fashion designing stock that helps you. It uses AI to design what clothes you want to wear, and then it ships the clothes to your house. Their stock has been decimated. It was a typical, VC company that went public that could not really live up to the public market hype. So that one will be interesting to see what happens there. Then we have Neo and Target. Neo is going to be interesting because China's under pressure. I don't think Neo is necessarily going to be able to live up to that pressure. If Alibaba can't get a premium, I don't know if Neo gets a premium, but that's a big stock people care about. Target, also a very big stock people care about. They need to show that the consumer is strong, the consumer is fresh. They need to deal with the looting issue because there's been too much stealing from their stores. Not really Target's fault, more politicians and, kind of how states operate. But if they can show an end to that, or at least a mitigation of that, and show an increase in their consumer sentiment, then Target's going to be good. Then CrowdStrike. CrowdStrike's going to be super important. We saw Palo Alto Networks got screwed. I think CrowdStrike's the gold standard in cybersecurity, but they might be priced to perfection. They're up 90% in the past 6 months. That's going to be an interesting one. JD.com, another Chinese company. You got Foot Locker. You've got Victoria's Secret. Then you got Abercrombie and Fitch, A&F. This is a stock all of us missed. Abercrombie and Fitch is Abercrombie and Fitch is a company that has increased their operating leverage or operating income margins by 800%, which is why the stock is up 360% year to date. And yeah, look at this line, dude. This stock was freaking $20 in $25 February 2023. Look at that line up to 140. I mean, this was a gem. This was like an SMCI type of gem that if you saw it and you knew what was happening, you were going to make a lot of money on it. So Abercrombie, really interesting to see what they have to say and how they can continue the growth. And then you got MongoDB, DocuSign, Big Bear AI. I don't know if you guys have heard of BBAI. I haven't talked about it too much, but this thing has exploded. It was $1.60 in October 2023. Now it's at $4. It's up 3x since October. You see this big green candle. Why did it explode? It's kind of a little memey, but there's also AI to it. And I think they had some deal they put out. So the market got excited about this one. They're going to have earnings. They're going to have to show they can live up to the momentum. Costco is big. Costco was the first company back in July to say, hey, we're seeing a shit ton of disinflation and deflation in our supply chains. And Costco, just what a story on Costco. This thing's up 15% year to date, 57% over the past year, $750. And it was at $450 in March of 2023. And they're going up because this is not a meme stock. They're going up. I mean, Costco is showing increased membership growth, increased deflation, which is great for their costs, right? Because their costs get lower. People want to buy more. And overall, just a really solid business that people continue to love shopping at. I've been shopping at Costco since I was like 10 years old. So Costco's earnings are going to be really important to see if they continue to see those signs of deflation happening. So you got a lot of companies doing a lot of earnings. It's going to be a very busy week. And I think this week is the final week of earnings for the stock market. And then we get a couple months of break until May. We get back into earnings. So going to be really interesting to see how this goes. Andre says, does Pelosi own Abercrombie? No, Pelosi's she's not Abercrombie. The day Pelosi buys Palantir, guys, by the way, we don't have to worry about anything anymore. Like, we're set for life. The day Pelosi buys Palantir, we are set for freaking life. It's just not happening yet. Palantir right now, 24.27. So we'll see when it happens. Okay, Nick also brings up CPI next week. We have two pieces of data that are really important this week. We have unemployment data, unemployment rate right now at 3.7%, and then jobs data, initial jobless claims. That was last week. The jobs is how many jobs did we add to the economy. The economy is projecting 200,000. If we crush on both those numbers, unemployment rate and jobs, it's good because obviously the market's going to be like, well, the economy is good and we don't really need to worry too much. The consumer's strong. It's bad kind of because is inflation going to slow down as much as we need to? Remember, the conventional narrative back in late 2022 was the Fed needs to induce a recession to stop inflation so that we can, get rid of inflation. I mean, that's the biggest concern. And if we need to unemploy millions of people to do that, then Jay Powell was prepared to do that. That hasn't happened because, well, AI has increased earnings. It's decreased costs, increased productivity. And so you're seeing companies put up the numbers, even though inflation is still, higher than it was 2 years ago, but it's starting to come down. The Goldilocks zone in this stock market is, can inflation come down without sacrificing growth? The Fed forecasted a recession in their in their June meeting. They got rid of that forecast. The Fed is not forecasting a recession anymore. But it begs the question, will they cut rates? I don't know if we still get 3 rate cuts. If the economy keeps holding up the way it is, maybe we don't need to cut rates. Maybe it's only 1 cut, maybe 2 cuts. But even if it's only 1 or 2 cuts, if the economy is doing fine and then we get those cuts and then it kind of goes into overdrive in terms of, the amount of market participation that happens, maybe the Fed doesn't need to be that aggressive, which is actually a really good thing for Jay Powell. So it seems like so far we're good. Now, if that CPI report comes in really hot, equities are going to take a break. But granted, I said that in January and equities did take a break for like 5 minutes and then they started mooning. So, I mean, like, I don't know. I don't know how the CPI is going to react, but I think that CPI, even if it comes in a little hotter, it might not be the worst thing in the world. Shelter is lagging. So I think the market's calling the bluff on shelter as well. They know that shelter is lagging. But look, if we get to 2.9, I think the market's going to be happy, even if the market doesn't explode. If we are still at 3%, last month we were at 3.1 headline, at least we're coming back down. And that's what really matters when it comes to CPI data. Do you guys think Costco will beat earnings? I think Costco is going to beat earnings. I think, remember, it was Q4 earnings. Q4 is the holiday quarter, right? So their quarter is going to probably be very, very good. The question is going to be on their guidance and what they think. The Costco call we have to listen to, because the Costco CEO has been talking about deflation since July, and he was right. He was dead right. And so that's going to be really important to see what it's looking like. John Kyler says Jerome Powell testimony on Wednesday at 10 a.m. Yeah, I'm probably going to be streaming that. He's going to be testifying in front of Congress. They're going to ask him stupid questions, and he's going to give the same answers he's always given, because politicians really don't understand what's going on in the economy. So that'll be fun. It'll just be like humor, but we'll be able to watch that as well. Okay, we got about 4 minutes into the market open. I want to show you guys something where I need to show you guys. I found this out last night, and I think I'm owed an apology by a lot of you, like a genuine apology by a lot of you. And so I just want to show this. I tweeted this back in May of 2023. A lot of you are new to the channel, so you don't have to worry about apologizing. But the people that were here in May and made fun of me for this, I think you owe me an apology. So this is what I tweeted in May. Okay, this is a watch that has no time on it. And the caption was, I've started wearing a watch that doesn't tell the time because the time is always now. Okay? That's what I tweeted. I thought, quite frankly, this was one of the most inspirational and motivational tweets that have ever gone out on the Twitter platform. I genuinely believe that. And then I said, I'm not kidding. I will legit wear this and check the time and realize the time is now. Jensen freaking Huang, the CEO of NVIDIA, said the exact same thing on an interview over the weekend. He says he doesn't wear wristwatches because now is the most important time. So I would just like an apology. Whenever you can send me an email, send me a text, whatever it is, on Twitter, DM. But for all of those that made fun of that post, I really do think you need to reevaluate the way you think about time and motivation and hustle. Because if one of the world's biggest innovators is using my lines, I tweeted it in May. He said it in February. So obviously I was first. Well, we need to reevaluate how we judge amidst bars. So that's all I want to say. Jensen Huang agrees with me. Just want to make sure everyone knows that. And the time is always now. That's why I don't have an Apple Watch. Dude, my mom bought me an Apple Watch for my 20th birthday. I told her to return it. I said, return this. I said, return it. I don't need it. The time is always now. Okay, now I didn't say the time is always now. I was just like, Mom, I'm not going to fucking wear a watch. I use my phone if I want to see the time. My mom was like, you really don't want this watch? I was like, no, you wasted your $500. I'm not buying this watch. Like, I'm not going to wear this. But I should have said the time is always now. That would have been cooler. That would have been cooler to say. All right, so there we go. Let's see what we got in the pre-market. I'm just kidding, obviously, but it was kind of fun. Obviously, you're seeing NVIDIA CEO really believe, like he's just motivated. The fact that he says he doesn't wear a watch because the time is always now, dude, how fucking baller of a line is that? Like, that's great. I love it. You want to invest in that guy. And NVIDIA, $841. It's at a 51 PE. NVIDIA is at the same PE it was at in 2018 for thousands of percents of more growth in the past 5 years. Obviously, we're seeing, NVIDIA still not be that overvalued if they're growing that aggressively, and they're, currently being valued at the same rate. Palo Alto Network down a little bit in the pre-markets. Enphase is up a little bit. SolarEdge is up a little bit. Palantir obviously at 24.33. For those that are just joining, Palantir got a brand new deal with the Ministry of Ukraine to be able to do demining. We don't know how much that deal is worth, but it's a 10-year partnership till 2033. So the idea that we don't get more and more deals from rebuilding a war-torn country, and if that's not worth, in my opinion, at least $1 billion over the next 10 years, I think it's going to be very fascinating to see how this ends up turning out for Palantir. And it'll be pretty fun to just see them try to continue to get more and more deals all throughout NATO, given what they're doing in Ukraine. So a lot more deals happening for Palantir, and it's going to be exciting to see how that ends up playing out. That news didn't push Palantir. Yeah, it wasn't big news. It was just good news for the OGs that know what's happening, but it's not obviously big news. Enphase insider bought at 120. Yes, CEO Badri bought 4,000 shares at 120. So that's his note to the market that it's overvalued, or it's undervalued for Enphase. All right, folks, it is time. Thank you all for being here from the bottom of my heart. This is the most exciting thing I get to do every morning. Monday morning, we're back at it. It means the absolute world that you guys are here with me. Let's get back into it. Let's get to work. Monday, March 4th, 9:30 a.m. The stock market is now open. Wake your ass up. Here we go. Palantir, 24.54, opens down about 2%. On the day, S&P 500, 512, down about 0.13%. Super micro computers up 13%. They are now included in the S&P 500, and the market really likes it. Bitcoin, 65,539, right now on Bitcoin. Coinbase up about 4%, 214. Robinhood up 2.26%, 1696. So it peaked at 1719 in the pre-markets. Obviously, we had a lot of sell-side pressure at 17. And so we've seen it collapse right back down to 1697. Obviously, people were taking some profits right there, and we'll see if we can get back to that $17 range, up 2.4%. right now. HIMS is up another 1.75%, 1335. They were down about 4% on Friday. Now they're back up at 1340. They're up 34% of the past week. So congrats to HIMS shoulders. Absolutely phenomenal. Enphase at 130. SolarEdge at 68, up from the dip at around 62. SoFi, look at that. SoFi, $9.09 on SoFi, 1.33. Dare I say, SoFi is finally beyond the $8 range. It's been stuck at $8 for so long. It'll be nice to see it get back to that $9 range. Wow. Google, 134. Folks, this is a 2024 low on Google. Google's low was 136. They were at 134. They're down 2.3%. There's no catalyst that happened. I think there's just a little bit of sector rotation. Apple down 2%. Apple getting fined 2 billion euros from the EU, down at 179. Robinhood 1694. Nvidia 843. They're up 2.5%. The market wants more AI exposure, and Nvidia is the place to get it. So we're seeing that up right now. Let's go to the semis playlist. All the semis are up except Broadcom, which is barely down. It's flat. AMD at 205. They're up another 1%. They rallied basically 13% last week. SMCI up 17%. ASML up about 0.32%. ARM up another 4%. This is the only one out of the semis that I think is ridiculously overvalued. I don't get ARM being at this level, but it's because there's a low float and people are chasing it. So it is what it is right now. 150 billion market cap for ARM. SMH, the ETF that we talked about, this bad boy is at 223. Up another 1.21% today. That ETF is fundamentally outperforming the S&P 500. The NASDAQ, I think, is down today. Yeah, the NASDAQ's down. Why? I mean, it's barely down, but it's down because big tech is taking a little bit of a breather. So the NASDAQ's down. Robinhood falling. Okay, so people took their profits. 1683 on Robinhood, up 1.48% right now. Robinhood taking a little bit of a breather. As we can see, Google at 134, Disney 112. Disney's price target got upgraded by Goldman Sachs to 135. So Street's excited about Disney. Apple 176. Google, wow, 133. Google now 133. NASDAQ 16,241. Microsoft 413. Where's MicroStrategy? Let's go to the crypto stocks. MicroStrategy up 11%, 1,200. To say MicroStrategy doesn't hit 2,000 if Bitcoin hits close to 100,000, we're probably going to see some more momentum there for MicroStrategy. So one of my friends had options on MicroStrategy at like $400. He's up 84 grand on those options. Shout out to my boy Josh on Twitter. So he's doing well on that. Bitcoin 65,000. CleanSpark up about 1%, $18. So they were up 5% in the pre-markets. Now they're up 1%. Coinbase up 213. BBAI is up, wow, 28%. Shout out to Rob. My boy Rob has been messaging me about Bitcoin there. He's in the chat. BBAI is up 30%. This one is starting to be a little memey. I wouldn't chase this again. It is what it is. If you got in early, and you enjoy the ride up, but trying to chase it, I don't know if that's the best thing to do. So my personal advice would be don't chase this. It is what it is. I know it feels enticing, but this stuff can get kind of scary. Just chasing it because you never want to know when it collapses. Lunar right now is down about 1.37%. And SoundHound, let's look at these guys again. They had really good earnings, but they got crushed because the stock ran up. They're up 1.3%. They're normalizing at this range though, which is really good because they're up 250%. So if they stay up 250%, that's not the worst thing in the world. C3 AI up about 1% as well today. Look at Russell. Russell's trying to break out, up 0.53%. Russell was at 196 last week. Now Russell at 206. Look at Root. Root is having a short squeeze. Root is down 3%. They when were they $7? Hold on. Is Root up from 7 to 40? I've heard of this name, but I didn't get time to look at it. Root. Oh my God. Yeah, look at this. Root is up, guys. 250%. Again, some of these companies that are sold short, the market's recognizing that. Root was at $7 on February 21st. They're at $38 right now. What does Root do? An insurance company? Okay, so Root's short float, Root stock short float. Let's see. It has to be like, what, 30%? Root is short float 970,000. I don't know. So it's about 10%. Yeah, it's about 10% because 9 million is the float. So all right, so you got 10%. That's not crazy, but that's definitely enough to get people kind of looking at it. And so now we got Root kind of breaking a little. Let's go to Beyond Meat as well. Beyond Meat is down 2%, but they're up from like $5, so they're up as well. Robinhood 1688, Nvidia 842. NVIDIA's strength is just incredible, guys. NVIDIA's strength is just incredible. BITO is up 4.3%. ARC-B is probably up about 5%. Yep, that's up 4.3. And then IBIT, BlackRock's ETF, they're going to get more inflows, is up 4.64. The inflows are happening, and those inflows that are happening are just leading to more and more exposure to Bitcoin because the ETFs have to buy the asset if they're getting more inflows. Tesla, where's Tesla? Tesla 196. Wow, Tesla's down 4%. Why is Tesla down? Why the hell is Tesla down? What's the reason for Tesla? Elon didn't tweet anything over the weekend, so I don't think there's anything crazy going there. I think there is a little bit of market rotation out of Mag 7. Look at that. All of them are down except NVIDIA and Amazon. And Facebook's barely down, right? Google just taking a beating today. Down 2.8%. Taking an absolute beating. Palantir below 24? Really? Wow. It was at 24.06. Yeah, I mean, look, that S&P 500 thing definitely got Palantir hit. It definitely got them hit. I mean, I didn't think the street would care that much, but the street obviously cared a lot. And so, you know, you got Palantir that had a bit more problems to be able to get to the level that it wanted to get at. Coinbase right now at 219, SMCI 1,038, Bitcoin. Wow, look at Bitcoin. It's trying to get to 66. Oh, there you go. Bitcoin 66,000. Boom. Boom, boom, boom. Bitcoin is 66,000, which means Robinhood is now 17. Bitcoin 66 means Robinhood is now 17. There you go. There you go. It is what it is. It is what it is. If that's what happens, then that's going to go. Now, Bitcoin gets back to 63, 64. We'll probably see Robinhood get down, but that is very correlated. Bitcoin 66, that means all of crypto companies should be exploding right now. Yep. There you go. Coinbase up 6%, CleanSpark now up 4%, Marathon up 4%, MicroStrategy up 16%. My goodness. My freaking goodness. And that's up. Amit, what do you think about the lawyers suing Elon wanting $6 billion in Tesla stock instead of cash? Yeah, this was the craziest story, guys. The lawyers that sued Elon that got rid of his compensation package, they want Tesla stock as their compensation versus cash from Tesla's team. Because I think in a lawsuit, when you win, the corresponding team has to pay for the legal expenses. Not in all lawsuits, but that happens a lot. So they said, hey, Tesla, we don't want $6 billion in cash. We want Tesla stock, which is the most hypocritical. If I was Elon, I would literally be going insane. I'd be like, you guys said I was getting paid too much in stock, and now you want to get paid in stock. I mean, it's the most grimy thing ever, dude. It's just disgusting. So that's pretty bad. Maybe that's why Tesla's down a little bit. The street's like, well, they're gonna have to pay $6 billion in stock, or they're gonna have to dilute people by $6, which I think their lawyer's gonna fight back against that shit. But if that does happen, obviously not the best for Tesla. Baba's down 3%, Tesla's down 4%, Bitcoin 65,973, trying to get to that 66K. Roku 63, Nvidia again, AMD is up 2.78%. Wow, AMD is just, AMD was $100, by the way, guys, in December. So AMD is just absolutely incredible. Dogecoin is up 7%. Dogecoin's about to hit 17 cents. And to me, I don't own Dogecoin, but I own the casino where Dogecoin is being being gambled on, and that is Robinhood. So Dogecoin as well. The meme stocks have been insane. That WIF coin that I told you about, that's up like 600% in the past like 3 weeks. It's pretty insane. So the meme coins are an all out full blow. Actually, let me show you that picture. Jesse tweeted a good picture where we saw tons of meme coins. And look, it makes sense. I mean, his thesis on meme coins actually was a pretty strong thesis that all these coins people are going to look for FOMO. People are going to look for coins. And if they think Bitcoin's too expensive or it's already run, they're going to look to things that are like Shiba Inu, 0.0005 cents. Is it the right thing? You can have your own ideological beliefs on that. The point is it's happening. And as an investor, the question is, how do you take advantage on that? And the way to take advantage of that is by, I am not doing this, but for some people that want to take advantage of it, you can get exposure to these meme coins. WIF right here up 340%, Doge up 90%, Pepe up 373%, Floki up 300%. There is a whole community on Twitter that I've discovered. I'm following this one guy. I think I showed you guys him before. BLKNOIZ06. That's his @ This dude has like 200,000 followers, and him and his community, all they do is make 100x on these meme coins. Like, it's a real bit, like, we're a Palantir community. There is a much bigger meme coin community that pops up when meme coins start to get alive. And I'm just like looking at their tweets and kind of seeing how they engage. It's pretty interesting, dude. All of these guys are working together to find the next thing to go up. And like, you can say it's stupid, but they're making a lot of money, dude. They're making a lot of money. And so it is what it is. It's happening, right? And so as a result of that, That's where we see momentum. Nvidia right now, wow, 850. 850 for Nvidia. Oh my God. Oh my God, this is not stopping. This is just not stopping. This is at a different level. This is at a totally different level. It makes sense. It makes a lot of sense. These guys the market wants exposure. And look, the question is, when does the market take profits? I think there has to be some macro news event that forces the market to take profits on Nvidia. But again, if you're a rational human being and you see Nvidia's growth, you don't sell, just like Palantir, you don't sell Palantir right now. Like you don't sell Nvidia. And if you don't have enough sellers, then same thing with Bitcoin, there's going to be more demand chasing it. Nvidia 851 right now. Nvidia 850. Where's PayPal? Where's that stupid stock PayPal? I'm sorry for my anger. PayPal, of course. Why not? Down 1.4%. Of course. Why wouldn't it be down? It should be down. I mean, it's PayPal, of course. Wow, Bitcoin 66.2. 66.2. Absolutely breaking out here on Bitcoin. 66.2. We're seeing tons and tons of momentum here right now with Bitcoin. There you go. Bitcoin starting to break out. 66,200 right now. Beto is up. This is the future strategy ETF, and then Robinhood at 1702. Netflix at 619. Netflix also 619. Netflix is starting to break out as well. PayPal. It's literally PayPal. Don't they have a stable coin or some shit? Shouldn't the market have some crypto narrative with these guys? They fucking made such a big deal out of PayPal stable. Can't Alex Chris just talk about crypto instead of AI? Because obviously their stupid AI innovations aren't doing anything for the stock. They need to get into crypto, dude. We need to pump it a different way. Jay Jr. says, people told me I was a clown for buying 18,000 to 22,000 LMFAO. I text them every day to hear their tears. Yeah, dude. I mean, look, I am not dogmatic or ideological about this. I have a set of friends that are really like upset at me in certain group chats because I'm getting more bullish on Bitcoin, and they're like traditional value investors, and they're like Charlie Munger, Warren Buffett, Bitcoin is rat poison, all this stuff. And I'm like, dude, you're boring and you're not fun, and you can be boring over there. But like there's a whole different set of ideologies that exist. And, we keep going back and forth on, is Bitcoin a store of value? Technically, no, because the store of value is not supposed to be volatile, right? It's supposed to store your value. But then I talk to some of my friends that are 80% of Bitcoin, and they're like, this shit has fucking stored my value pretty damn well. It's actually appreciated my value as well. So I think the people that are super dogmatic on Bitcoin, at some point we have to look at money. And when this thing is at 66,300 and it was at 50,000, like even if you think it's rat poison, would you not buy something at 50,000 or 20,000, as someone said in the chat, assuming it goes up to 6? Like that's a good decision. That's a really good decision. And even if you were just going to sell it, who cares? Like the ideology to be so against something when in front of your eyes, the most powerful human on planet Earth, or at least one of the top 5, Larry freaking Fink, is pumping it. And by the way, he's not pumping it to dump it. That's not how BlackRock works. BlackRock is institutionally legitimizing this asset. For you to ignore that, to me, is just ideology. And you can be ideological, but I don't want to be ideological. I want to have an open mind. I want to look at perspectives. I want to make my own mind and have my own ideas. And I don't want to just be like, oh, I'm a value investor, so Bitcoin's rat poison. It's like, dude, I got a service from someone last night and I paid him in Bitcoin. That didn't feel like rat poison to me. That feel like digital payments. That feel like some version of digital gold, some version of digital scarcity. So I think a lot of people are very interesting on their perspectives on Bitcoin. Right here, Jack says pessimists are necessary for the markets to work. That is correct. Pessimists are necessary for the market. Some people thought Palantir at $16 was the worst deal in the world. They thought at $7 it was horrible. Well, it's 23.88 now. Palantir down 4%. This is probably the S&P 500 news. But you do need skeptics. You do need people who win and lose to make a market. Now, in the long term, it's a zero-sum game, right? Because if you're in the market long enough, it goes up. But in the short term, it's absolutely a winner and loser, because either you believe in it or you don't. SMCI, we were all laughing at that shit at 600. I asked you guys, should I buy the dip? All of you guys told me no. Well, we lost. SMCI at 1,000. We lost here. So that one is up. Robin at 1707. P-Chefs, thank you for the super chat. I never understand why so many people put faith in SBV from Intuit, Alex Chris, to turn around a company that peaked 20 years ago. Yeah, I mean, look, the thing about Intuit is the stock is up 2,000% since Alex Chris has been there for 19 years. So you would think that, look, I think on PayPal, we're making fun of it. They need a quarter to execute. If by Q1, they can't move this bad boy, then yeah, we're probably going to be stuck here for a while. But I think we got to give them till Q1 at least to show off some growth. And if they can't, then it is what it is. But I think we got to give them a quarter. It's unfair to give the new CEO less than a quarter. And so let's see how we can do it. SoFi now below $9, $8.93. IWM breaking out at 207 right now. Bad drivers of NYC. Oh my God. He says, LOL, I told you to buy SMCI. That is true. I have to give you an apology. Bad drivers of NYC Tesla edition said, I told you to buy SMCI when everyone in the chat said, don't buy it when it fell to $600. And I said, hey, your name is Bad Drivers of NYC. So you're probably not the best person to tell someone to buy a stock since you're a bad driver. Now, that was a stupid little joke, but apparently you were actually good on your stock picks, even if you're bad at your driving, because I should have fucking bought the dip. Like, we should have bought at least one share just for the hell of it, dude. We should have bought one share. Hims broke 14. Oh my God. Dude, Hims is a company I saw for so long, and I should have fucking put some money into this thing, but I was just like, it's dick pills. Like, is it that big of a market? And see, that's when your bias comes in. You're like, oh, it's just dick pills. It's like, no. It's dick pills that are growing, okay? And they're a grower, not a shower, and they finally have showed the growth, okay? And so there you go, up 7.4%. It's up 45% in the past 2 weeks. They showed the growth. There we go. SoundHound up 1.2%. Palantir down 23.95. SMCI up 17%. Bitcoin 66,100. Robinhood 1706 right now on Robinhood. I doubled down on my position, guys, on Robinhood a couple of weeks ago. I said this on the market close. I'll show you guys right now, and I'm thinking of even getting in a little harder. So I got in at 9, and then I doubled down by buying more options at 14.30, and this was the new spread I bought. So I showed this on Friday, but I bought $22, $25 Jan 2025 spreads. So I bought the 25, I sold the 25. We're up 60% on those, up about 9,500. We got them for 37 cents. Right now, they're at 59 cents. Now, why did I do this, particularly on 22? Because you might think it's a really weird strike. When options chains come out on the market, there's mispricing. And this is what Chris has taught me, that when new option chains opens up and there leaps, there's incredible amounts of mispricing because the market doesn't know what to do with these because they have low open interest and they have massively low volume. So at 14.30, when I was seeing Robinhood 2 Fridays ago, I was just looking at the options and I saw the $22 strike opened up and I was like, wait a second. No one's bought the $22 strike. So there's no volume, there's no interest, there's no bid, there's no ask. It's like, it's kind of just sitting there. And then I was like, all right, it's at $1. What if we sell the 25 on top of it? And then I got a price of 33 cents. And I was like, holy shit. If Robinhood gets to $25, which I think could happen, this is a 10x on 33 cents. And that's when I made the decision of like, all right, let's execute that. And now I ended up averaging up to 37 cents because I didn't buy as much as I should have that day. And I think I'm probably going to average up even more because it's pretty obvious what's happening. And so I have doubled down on that position. And so now we have 2 positions, 2026 and 2025 playing out. And, you know, the level of due diligence I've been doing, it's one of those things that, here's a good tweet I saw over the weekend from someone I really respect. The hardest part about managing a position is when you are bullish on it, but there is a 1% level of bearish thesis you have, and that stops you from buying more. And so you may agree with that or disagree with that, but that's kind of the Stanley Druckenmiller, George Soros line, that you should go 115% into something if you believe versus 100%. Yes, there's risk mitigation, but there's also conviction. And I think there's a variety of opportunities there that help you kind of understand what's happening. And look, if you have a real big set of convictions, the way to wealth is to solidify, not to diversify. The way to preserve wealth is to diversify. But for someone like me who doesn't have wealth, it's to solidify and take some big bets. And let's see what happens. D Legend says up 4,000 call on NVIDIA. Should I close? What is the strike and what is the expiration? Please let me know. And then I can at least give you a little bit of understanding on what I think there. Arnie says, did the good UI help you to see the opportunity? Yeah. I mean, when I pulled up the UI on Robinhood, Robinhood 1718. I was planning to buy more today. I put in some orders. They did not fill. I put in a shit ton of orders to buy more and they're not filling because obviously it's not going to let me fill. I thought I would get them cheap and I still don't. They're just not filling yet, so we're gonna have to see. But yeah, I pulled up the option chain, and I was like, it was a moment where I was like, holy shit! Like it's like one of those, like you're the only person on earth that knows about this. It's like you see an opportunity that is ridiculously underpriced. I mean, I got them on 33 cents on the dollar. These are cheap. If Robinhood can get to $25, which by the time I got to 14, I totally changed my perspective. I thought 18 was my price. I was like, no, this is a whole different ballgame. Then if I'm getting to buy these at 30 cents on the dollar, they're going to be worth maybe $3. That's a 10x. So I didn't buy enough. I should have bought more of those that day. I didn't buy enough. So I've had to average up, and now I have to average up even more if I want to get more of them. But that opportunity became very clear because of that UI showed it. Any news on Hood or just up because of Bitcoin? So I think it's up because of Bitcoin. Now, I published a lot of due diligence over the weekend, and I'm not going to lie, dude, those tweets got a lot of views. And so I think people are kind of reading my tweets and they're getting a little bit more interested in Robinhood. It is what it is. And so, I mean, I'm publishing really like essays on due. I was up Saturday night till 1 a.m. I felt like I was fucking a madman. I felt like I felt in December when I initially made the 50,000 buy the day after, December 4th. I felt like that this Saturday night because I just started looking at the numbers and I was like, wait a second, there's something here that's different. And so I think people are reading that. I don't think my due diligence is moving the markets. I don't think we can move it up 4%, but I do think there is more retail excitement that is coming into the stock, and we're seeing a lot more. Here's a slide I don't think a lot of people have seen on net interest in revenues. I really dissected this slide aggressively. This slide is really important, dude. Seeing how they're getting interest, where the interest is coming from, and the key thing to understand here about Robinhood is the more deposits, the more interest. And if that's the case, that number is going to explode, especially because the Fed's not cutting rates. And their credit card, I mean, there's just so much stuff. Again, I published on my Twitter. You guys can read it, but there's a lot of reasons why that credit card is going to explode. They're going to get more people. More people are going to join, sign up for gold, deposit more money. That 1099 contractors are going to come in. Like, there's a lot of catalysts. And this is what happens when a stock is actually having catalysts behind it. There's momentum. And if there's momentum, you know, things can go well. Netflix right now at 1618 or 618. Google, wow, Google 132. Oh my God, Google's getting hit. Celsius is up another 5%. Holy crap. Wow. 83 on Celsius. Congrats to those on Celsius, man. Congrats to those on Celsius. Absolutely deserve it. Celsius just crushing. And the growth deserves it, dude. The growth deserves it. Maybe I've seen a lot of people start to trim their Celsius because it's starting to get up there, but people are buying in because they want to bet on that growth. MicroStrategy up 18%. The reason MicroStrategy is up, someone's asking in the chat, is because of Bitcoin. They are sitting on probably $7 billion of profits now on Bitcoin, or 6.5 billion. So MicroStrategy is the ETF for Bitcoin without being an official ETF on Bitcoin. Someone says, when is the product announcement you are launching? It's going to be on Friday, guys. So Friday, that is official, done and confirmed. March 8th, 10 a.m. I will be launching my new SaaS. It'll be $42.69 for a yearly subscription. I think the value of the software will far exceed the cost. And I think people are going to enjoy it. We fixed it up over the weekend. Me and my dev are like 99.9% done. I'm meeting with him tomorrow and we're officially completing it. I think you guys are going to enjoy it. It's going to be fun. By the way, I'm going to launch it on Wednesday to the newsletter. So if you want to see it 2 days early, I'm launching it softly to the newsletter before we do it on Twitter and YouTube. Newsletter's in the chat. You can subscribe to that and you will have an early access to launch. The only thing I say is when you see it, please don't tell anybody, because I want to just keep it under wraps until we launch it on Friday. But it'll be fun, dude. I'm using the software every day. It's exciting. I think I tried to make it as cheap as possible. I do not want to break the bank on this. I think $40 for a whole year is really cheap. And by the way, you need to pay $40 because we actually have to pay for the cost, right? We have to pay for compute to be able to do what we need to do on the back end. So I think for $3 a month, people will enjoy it. So it'll be fun and we'll launch it. And I'll get to do a presentation. You guys will get to see me sell. And you guys will get to sit back and be like, all right, let's see if Amit can actually fucking sell me on this. So it'll be really fun Friday, 10 a.m. IBIT is up 5.2%. Also, I did do some buying. I bought some Beetle Leaps in the Roth. Now, I didn't buy enough, but I bought some Beetle Leaps in the Roth. Let me show you that. This is the first new thing we did in the Roth. I should have just threw the whole fucking Roth into those Beetle Leaps, but I got scared. And I bought these Beetle $35 calls January 2025, and we're up 32% on those. I should have just put all 18 grand into these, to be honest. I became so scared for no reason. Like at 61K, it made a lot of sense, but we're up 32% of those. So the first Roth position post the Robinhood options that we sold way too early. If we had left those freaking options, the Roth would be worth 55,000. It would be worth 55,000 because we bought those options at $10. And there were $25 calls. Robinhood's really close, or not really close, but it's getting close to 25. We bought them at 10. Dude, in a matter of 4 weeks, I would have taken 14,000 to 60 grand. So that haunts me at night. That really makes me upset. I know hindsight is 2020, but so now we have some Beetle Leaps, and that's up there. Chris Patel says, what does the software do? In simplest terms, if you want to know more about Palantir or have a resource every day that you can use to understand Palantir better, I think for $40 a year, this is going to be the most advanced piece of software that's out there. It's getting better and better and better every single day, the way I work with it. So I think most people can figure out what it is. I don't want to just outright say it. But I think, dude, for 2 Palantir shares, you have yearly access to this, unlimited use. it's something for a Palantir shareholder that I think that they're going to enjoy using pretty much every day. And even if you don't use it every day, at least every week, every month, it'll be valuable. So it'll be fun, and people can see if they ultimately want to pay for it. CleanSpark up 5.4%, Riot up 2.46%, Spotify up about 1%, Truist Regional Bank up 2% on the day. So Truist getting a little bit of value here, up 2%. Bay Ray says, told you to hold hood. Proud of you for making decisions that made you comfortable. Yeah, here's the thing, dude. I sold some of those 2025 options too early because even I, and this goes to show how imperfect I am, even I thought, dude, it's run up 70%. I should take some profits. Which, yes, traditionally that makes sense. But here's the thing I'm also noticing. Sometimes you have to tune out voices. There were a lot of voices on Twitter. I mean, when I tweeted that I made 5,000 of my mom's options, and there's so many tweets saying, you're a gambler, degenerate, blah, blah, blah. That got to me a little bit. I'm not going to lie. I mean, when you see 30,000 people saying you're a gambler, when you see Strongman making videos about you, it gets you a little bit. I think the thing about becoming a really good investor is if you win, it's because of you. If you lose, it's because of you. It's not because of Chris. It's not because of Vitaly. It's not because of the random people in the chat. It's because of you. And in my heart of hearts, I knew that Robinhood was going to do better. But at that moment, I was like, fuck it, I should take some profits just to secure them, which is fine. And that risk mitigation is important. But at some level, you have to listen to yourself more than the world. And if I listened to myself, it would have done well. So I think what I'm learning this experience is, hey, like, trust in yourself and also recognize the catalyst. The reason I was really upset that the reason I took profits on Robinhood earlier is because on SoFi, I was up 30,000. I took no profits. I lost all 30,000. I was like, I don't want to do that again. That's fine. But you also have to analyze, this is a different scenario. SoFi ran up for no reason in July. Robinhood, there is a lot of reasons for it to run up, and understanding the nuance and complexity of different situations you're in, I think it makes you more humble of recognizing the reality of that situation and then making decisions and listening to your fucking self. You got to listen to yourself at the end of the day. So, yeah, that's the important thing. And it is what it is. But we still have a pretty hefty position, and hopefully it does well over the long term. But listening to yourself is really, really important. IWM right now, 207, up 0.83%. Disney, 113. Google, 132. Google just wow. Apple's at 174, down 3%. Apple got schmacked. Oh, my God. Apple got hit. Apple got hit pretty bad. See, someone like Jijuki that says gambling in the Roth is always a good idea. I think that comment makes no sense, dude. I think that comment makes literally no sense. Maybe that comment makes sense if you if you want to just buy the S&P 500. But to me, taking a leveraged bet on something that you think is happening, like if you think Bitcoin's at 70K, what do you think those Beetle leaps are going to be worth? They're not going to be worth $27, which is what I bought them at. They're going to be worth a lot more. So you could say I'm wrong on Bitcoin, but to say that's gambling, dude, I mean, yeah, it's gambling. But to say it in an aggressive tone or just like, oh, you're just gambling, like I think that is an elementary way of understanding what the position is doing. Because people said we were gambling at $9 on Robin. It's like, no. It's not gambling. There's a lot of due diligence inside. Was Chris gambling when he bought Celsius down 30%? I don't think so. I think he saw an outsized market opportunity. And Chris is up a lot of money. That screenshot, he is up a lot of money because he quote unquote gambled. So I don't know. I think sometimes people are too ideological. We got to be less ideological here. Chris says my snow calls are getting cooked. Okay, so that's the one thing Chris got wrong. Where's Snowflake right now? Oh my God, 181, down 2%. Look, I thought the street would buy the dip. The street's not buying the dip on Snowflake. I thought they would. They're not. Maybe they will later. But as of now, they're waiting for the CEO to actually show this would be good. Chris says betting on Snow isn't being against Palantir. Yeah, I agree. Look, Snowflake to me, it's not undervalued in my opinion. But it definitely is not as transformational as Palantir. However, the growth is there. Supposedly, they lower the growth, but there's probably sandbagging. So it probably deserves to be closer to 200. I mean, 30% drop is aggressive, but the street's not buying the dip. And this is a beloved stock by the street. The street loves it, and the street's not buying the dip. So that's actually concerning that the street really is not giving Snowflake the benefit of the doubt. Palo Alto, the street bought that shit the hell up. They bought it the hell up. So you'll see. Juki says buying calls on Bitcoin ETF at almost all-time highs in a Roth is a gamble. Well, I mean, this is the question. Do you think it's going past all-time highs? If Bitcoin, cracks from 69 all the way back down to 32, then yeah, you're right. But if Bitcoin goes above that, it's not a gamble. And the due diligence I've done is leading me to believe that. Now, could I be wrong? 100%. I could be wrong. We'll see. But I think the amount of due diligence that's out there, I don't think that's necessarily asymmetrically you're going to be wrong on that. Like, I think there's a better chance that you're right than wrong, or at least there's 50-50 chance. So that's why I think it's less of a gamble. Amit, are you going to buy Enovix? No, because I don't know anything about this company. And I know Vitaly and Carlos are big on it. Enovix right now, $9.55. I just don't get this company at all. I know their batteries and all that stuff. And there's a lot of, and then Raj Talluri, all that. But I don't feel comfortable holding this at all. Like, I just don't understand it. And I don't have the patience to do the due diligence on this thing either. I think there's other opportunities as well. Palantir getting hammered 23. We might, let's buy some Palantir. Let's buy some Palantir. So we made $240 on Twitter over the weekend. So we need to buy $248 in the public fund. Elon's just fucking gonna make sure we get rich off fucking Palantir over time. So let's do that. There's a nice 4% dip. So let me deposit 240 in the account. 248.6. Next, confirm. Okay. And let's buy some Palantir. Nice 4% dip. Let's get some more Palantir. Okay. So we're going to open up Palantir. This is the public account right now. About $4,000. We're down 4% on the day. And we're going to buy some Palantir. Trade, buy, 248.6. Okay. So we're just, it doesn't let me do 0.6. We're just 248. All right, so we're getting 10.4 shares, folks. Nice little dip on Palantir. S&P inclusion not here. So the street's like, all right, we're going to tank our boy. We're going to get our boy a little bit of help. Here we go. Okay, we got it at 23.70. And there we go. Palantir. Got a little bit of a dip. 10 more shares that we'll look back on in 2030 and be like, did they really let me buy this sucker at $23.70? Did they really let me do that? Maybe not in a year. Maybe in a year it's still stuck. Maybe it's still kind of consolidating in this range. But in 10 years, they will look back and be like, did they let me buy this sucker at this price? There we go. There we go. Okay, so MicroStrategy 1250. Wow, up 15%. Celsius 83. Where's Robinhood? Coinbase 219. Hood, $17. Okay, so Robinhood following a ton of buy side pressure at 1720. So that has come down. Enphase 124. Wow, Enphase down 3%. Enphase, wow, SoFi's down. So a rate sensitive stock is down. A company that's perceived as woke is down. And then a financial institution growing at above 30% year over year is down. But IWM is up. Robinhood is up. Crypto plays are up. Snowflake 179 is up. And then Nvidia is up. Such an interesting dichotomy. And then Hims, a dick pill company, is up. Interesting dichotomy, seeing what's happening here in the market. We mustn't be afraid to dream a little bigger in a bull market. And this is, I actually kind of agree with this, what Lussie Picker says here, dude. Sometimes in a bull market, everyone gets scared, but in a bull market, it's a bull market. And it's okay to dream a little bigger to see what happens. And also, I think I can say this because you guys know I am like the most objective when it comes to a crash happening, when it comes to, like, I raised cash a couple of weeks ago, and now I'm starting to deploy that cash again. So like, I'm the guy that never wants to be perceived as a YouTuber that like, oh, everything's going to the moon, buy this, buy that. I'm the one who tells you guys to don't chase, don't buy Lunar, don't buy this shit because I'm scared because I don't want to say it and then the thing collapses 30%. Like, that's my greatest fear, to recommend something that is just on the up and up and then it gets smashed. Even at Palantir at 17, I was a bit more conservative because the growth wasn't there. I'm the guy that doesn't want to be the guy on YouTube saying everything's going to the moon. So to me, I try to be a little bit more conservative with my public, comments. But what things I want to double down on are the things I have conviction on. And I think if you have conviction on something and you have a good averaging up a little bit to just expedite those gains or accentuate those gains, that's not the worst thing in the world, especially in a bull market, especially because we can't find as a community a reason for why the stock market should go down. What is the reason to get the S&P back to 480, to have that 10% correction? The only reason I can think of is massive inflation or unemployment. If unemployment happens, we're going to get rate cuts, which is actually going to be good for the stock market, even in the short term, and inflation's coming down. Those are the two things I see. The other thing is, people take profits. Obviously, people don't want to take their profits. And the people that did take profits, they gladly gave a dip to people that want to buy the stocks that people are taking profits on. And on top of that, there's $6 trillion on the sidelines. So, you know what I'm saying? So Savici says, don't be that guy. I'm with you, dude. I don't want to be that guy. I saw that in YouTube in 2020, people saying go to the moon, the stupid thumbnails and titles, all this shit. Like, I hate that shit, dude. I've never loved that shit. But I'm trying to be objective and saying, well, what is the reason for the market to go down? And if we can't find that real reason, then we don't have to be bearish, but we don't have to be overly bullish, which is why you don't buy SoundHound, you don't buy Lunar, you don't buy this stupid shit that's just going up to go up. Companies are not that stupid, but the way you don't buy Beyond Meat, you don't chase that stuff, right? So I think that's the sort of philosophy I have right now currently in the market. Oh, Hood is presenting today at 1 p.m. I didn't know that. Okay, there you go. So boom, we'll be streaming that live. I forgot they were presenting. There you go, folks. We got a stream at 1 p.m. I was actually going to have one of my boys do a stream with me for Lunch with a Mitt. Lunch with a Mitt now will be the stream. I'll get him to come tomorrow instead Thank you, engineer, for reminding. I totally forgot they were doing that. That'll be great. Robinhood doesn't make money. They are profitable. Anthony noted they are profitable. So I do believe they make a little bit of money now. Okay, let's see what else we got going on. Let's see what else we have going on. So let's do a couple of these right here. Let's talk about Elon Musk. Elon Musk and OpenAI. Elon Musk and OpenAI. We got Walter Isaacson giving some of his thoughts. He's suing these guys. Over the weekend, he got more aggressive with wanting to sue them. Let's get an update on Elon Musk, OpenAI, Sam Altman, and everything going on here.
Has unique insights into the mind of Elon Musk and his relationship with Altman. We want to bring in Walter Isaacson. He is Perella Weinberg advisory partner, Tulane professor, CNBC contributor, but maybe most importantly in this context, his book, Elon Musk. For that book, he had unprecedented access to the entrepreneur for 2 years. For those who are saying this is something that just blew up, Walter, they haven't been watching what Elon Musk has been saying and doing over the last period of time. This OpenAI was kind of a slow train wreck taking place with this lawsuit, just the latest in this. Maybe a lot of people who know him well, not surprised that it came.
Absolutely. One of the things that surprised me as I was traveling with him for 2 years is how focused he was on AI. And it goes back to 2012 when he was worried that DeepMind by Dennis Hassabis and others is going to be sold to Google. And he was worried that two big companies, Google and Microsoft, might someday control AI. So he and Sam Altman started OpenAI. And what Musk wanted was it to be open source, and nonprofit. And that was what they decided at the beginning. Why he's so upset is because, obviously, as you know, OpenAI is no longer open source, and Microsoft has 49% of a for-profit arm of it. So exactly a year ago, soon after he took over Twitter in February 2023, he summoned Sam Altman to the Twitter headquarters and said, "Bring the founding documents. This is outrageous." That Musk said he funded a whole lot of the OpenAI originally as a nonprofit, and now Sam had turned it into a for-profit. And near the end of my book, there's a wonderful scene where Elon Musk asked me back to Austin, and we sit outside by a backyard, and he says, "I've got to start my own AI company because this is a disaster, what's happening with OpenAI."
So for Vinod Khosla and documents and memos we've seen from inside OpenAI just this morning, they're all saying that this is basically sour grapes from Elon Musk because he's no longer involved. What would you say to that?
Well, certainly he has his backup. He's no longer involved. At that meeting I talked about at the end of the book a year ago, Altman says, "Do you want shares? Do you want shares in OpenAI?" And he says, no. Musk says, I'm not looking for money. I'm wanting to keep it so that Microsoft and Google don't dominate the industry. And he started his own AI company. I think Musk does things because he's got a pretty strong passion for what he feels has to be done on AI. So I would say calling it just sour grapes doesn't nearly get to the depths of the passion that Musk feels about this.
So Elon Musk, obviously, he wants to, rewrite the ship. Now, the question is, what does this mean for Tesla and what's actually going to happen in the broader scheme of this? Robinhood 1703, MicroStrategy 1273, that's up 17%. Tesla right now is in a very peculiar situation because they did not give guidance on gross margins or volumes. Tesla, wow, down 5%, 193. And now they might have to pay $6 billion to these fancy lawyers. And he's suing OpenAI. It is another distraction, which is what I think shareholders are a little upset about. That he's going this route, and that might be taking away some of his energy. At the end of the day, I think Tesla's going to be valued primarily on the numbers that they put up. And those numbers in Q1, I don't know personally how great they're going to be, just given everything that's happened with EV demand and how EVs are kind of turning out. And they didn't give any guidance because I think they kind of didn't want to spook the street on what would end up happening. So I don't think the numbers are going to be horrible. I don't think the numbers are going to be amazing. The bots obviously not being counted in by Wall Street. Robotaxi is not being counted in by Wall Street, and FSD not being counted in by Wall Street. So now one could argue that at $615 billion, if it's a car company, a lot of that stuff is being counted by Wall Street. But I think this is a year, and I said this in January after the earnings call, to DCA into Tesla. and that's what it is, maybe it's not a year for this thing to rip people's faces off until rates get cut. When rates get cut, maybe things change. But right now, 193 on Tesla. Mag 7, Nvidia's up, Amazon's up, Microsoft's up. Everybody else is down. Meta now below 500, Apple at 174, and Tesla here at 173. Is Apple value 2 still high? I would say so personally. Apple 174. The problem with Apple right now, it's down 3%, is that their PE is 27 and they're not growing. They did 119 billion in revenue, or 117 billion in 2022, 119 billion in 2023. They made $2 billion more revenue. It's just not enough. You can buy back the stock all you want, but it's just not enough to justify the PE. And so I think the dip will eventually be bought, because I wouldn't bet against Apple. I think they're going to figure things out, but especially with the AI sort of app store and iPhone. But it's not something that's like, a screaming buy, in my opinion. At least the market does not really think it's that exciting as well. So that's what we're seeing right now with Apple. Today screaming a peak signal. It might be. I mean, we'll see. Where's Bitcoin right now? Today, maybe. I mean, where's Bitcoin? Bitcoin right here, 66,130. Again, this thing is another thing that's propelling the catalyst to just be higher and higher in regards to how we think of where the market is going and where momentum should be. The other thing about the Bitcoin ETF that I think is really, really, really interesting here is that it's generating momentum in other parts of the world. So, for example, in Australia, Bitcoin's at $100,000 Aus USD, right? Which is 66,000 United States USD. When Australians see something like that, just psychologically, it's one of those things where it's like, well, wait a second, maybe I need to get some more Bitcoin. And we're seeing Coinbase go to number 11. We're seeing Robinhood get to number 12 in the App Store. You're seeing so many more retail investors get excited about it that doesn't have to stop. And if Bitcoin keeps running 66,343, it's a catalyst for the broader equity market, because now the entire market is like, all right, well, we're risk on, and other assets become a little bit more attractive as well. QQQ 444, SMH 224, Costco 761. Now, could we take a breather? Absolutely. There is no reason Robinhood below 17. There's no reason Robinhood can't fall to 15. There's no reason we can't get a bad inflation report and we fall lower. I think that's 100% possible. I just think it's harder to see that happening if the market is putting up the numbers that it needs to put up, which it's doing right now. Here's a stat I think that is going to blow everybody's mind. This is from Carson Research, really, really good guy to follow on Twitter, Ryan Detrick. People call him a permabull, but he laughs at that because he's like, look, I'm looking at the numbers, and maybe you guys are just not looking at the numbers. Every time the S&P 500 has gone up more than 5% in February, which February is historically a horrible month for equities, the next month has been higher 5 out of 6 times. The full calendar year gained a median of 20%. And the next 12 months, it's up 13% on average as well. I mean, look, this is historical. What is the market? The market is accumulation, an amalgamation of hundreds of years of history compiled on top of each other. The reason the S&P is able to give you 8% per year on average is because the market tends to work on average and repeat itself on average and rhyme with the historical averages that the market ends up deploying. In an election year, why does the market tend to go up? Because there's certain catalysts that happen. The market is just human psychology, human behavior. Why does the market probably go up 5 out of 6 times in March if February went up really a lot? Is because no one was expecting the market to go up in February historically. The market goes up, and now people are like, all right, well, no one's going to expect it to go down. And as a result, more people pile in March. That's like the basic psychological argument for why the markets probably go up after February if it gains 5% or more. And that's what's happening. So, I mean, there's research pointing that this doesn't necessarily have to be the worst thing in the world if more people are excited about the markets and how the markets are operating post-February. Why PayPal? Why? Yeah, well, PayPal is continuing to be down 2%, of course. Dell. Oh yeah, let's talk about Dell. So that was the one thing on the SP I want to show you guys. Dell. So Dell is up. Dell is up a ridiculous amount, dude. Dell is 128.71. It's up 3% today. Dell over the past, how much? Dell over the past year to date, the stock has more volatility. Robin showing me is up 70%. Past month, it's up 50%. I am doing more due diligence on Dell. Dell's at 91 billion. I'm trying to figure it out if it's cheap, and I'm trying to figure out if it's going to continue the growth, the SMCI type of server growth that Dell is doing for these GPUs. Dell is reinventing itself right now. And here's the other thing that's so inspirational about AI. Companies that are as old and legacy as Dell finding ways to reinvent their entire business model because of the needs and demands of AI. I mean, dude, it's like this is the promise of these companies starting to get a broader ecosystem and a broader chance to grow. AI is bringing growth. It's bringing prosperity. It's bringing wealth. It's something that should be celebrated. And Dell is a classic case study of this. I tweeted this over the weekend. I've been struggling with a problem all week. It was actually in regards to the software I'm launching that I couldn't solve for the past 2 weeks. Like I've been procrastinating on it. I'm just like, all right, I'll deal with it later. Finally, Saturday night, I was like, let me just ask ChatGPT. Let's see if they give me a solution. Within 5 minutes, ChatGPT not only gave me a solution, it told me how to implement the solution. I implemented the solution and I don't have the problem anymore. And I was getting kind of annoyed because I was like, look, I want to launch this on Friday. I really can't launch this if this bug still exists. I need to fix this. And like, so what I'm saying is that productivity for me increased like 100 times, like 100x in the course of 5 minutes because ChatGPT, I finally got the genius idea of like, why don't I just ask AI on the solution versus like going through Google? And I emailed a bunch of support teams. The support teams did nothing. The company that I'm trying to, navigate this with, like ChatGPT solved everything. And so to like imagine that in an enterprise, imagine that throughout the entire sector, sales, marketing, finance, accounting, there's a lot of room to grow. And I think the market's starting to recognize that as well. HPE is also in the race with Dell with AI networking. Yeah, we got to look at both of those. AI definitely needs hardware. Hardware margins are not as great as software, but AI definitely needs hardware. Let's take a look at the tech rally continuing to run about transitioning to AI, what we just talked about. Here's Deepwater giving his thoughts on it.
Commission hitting Apple with a nearly $2 billion fine for allegedly favoring its own music streaming service over others like Spotify. Joining us to talk about this, as well as NVIDIA breaking above a $2 trillion market cap, Doug Clinton, Deepwater Asset Management Managing Partner. And it's earlier, actually, Doug, I was saying it is the inflection point. Is NVIDIA now taking some leadership away from Apple at this point?
I think it probably is. I mean, I think someone said this the other week. I heard the market is really all about NVIDIA right now. I think as long as NVIDIA continues to show this, it's seemingly unstoppable fundamental strength in their business, I think that the market in general can keep working. And so aside from NVIDIA, I think you also see this with Microsoft versus Apple. I mean, Microsoft now is bigger than Apple. So it's really about that transition to an AI first world, and the most AI focused companies are benefiting.
Just looking at the history of technology, I'm trying to figure out how Apple bridges the move to AI. And in the past, we've seen leading tech companies that, for whatever reason, were supplanted by new entries in really important arenas. Microsoft somehow is doesn't seem like it was ready for maybe social media and some of those things. Here it is again, but is Apple up to the task of living in the AI world in terms of leadership?
I think they are, Joe, and we're going to learn a lot more later this year at WWDC. I don't think it's been unintentional. The last few weeks, the last month or so, we've heard Tim Cook talking more about this large language model project that they've been working on, talking more about AI, using the word. I mean, last year, it almost felt like Apple thought AI was a bad word. And now we're hearing them talk a little bit more specifically about AI. And not only that, I mean, they're putting their money where their mouth is. They have reorganized what was their Titan car project now to really focus on AI. And so I think in June, when we get to WWDC, we start to hear what Apple has been working on in AI. We'll see whether or not they're up to the task. I do think they will be. They do have a history of generating, I think, these sort of magical products that combine hardware and software. So if they can figure out a way to do it again with AI, I think that they can still be a winner.
AI or NVIDIA, it's very arcane, exactly how everything works. But the case has been made that there's a difference between setting up the AI and then deploying it, and that maybe upstarts or competitors are going to make inroads in that second step. What's it called? Inference. It's very arcane. You know what I'm talking about. What is it?
It's training and you train the model, and then you do inference when somebody puts a prompt in a chat.
So you can get cheaper chips and maybe not as sophisticated to do the inference. I mean, is there going to be more inference versus setting up the models are, in other words, is there a competitive threat someday to NVIDIA?
It's hard to really see that playing out. We like to think about things in terms of odds. So if you had to set odds on it right now, today, odds are in 5 years, I think NVIDIA is still the market leading, the dominant player in creating AI chips. We do think there's a chance that some competitors can come in and do inference and maybe even specific kinds of inference. So inference on the edge specifically, so actually on a device, for example, versus inference in the data center are sort of two different use cases. In the data center, you don't have to think as much about power consumption. When you're on a device at the edge, you might be working on a mobile phone battery. And that.
So the inference on the edge is really important. We've been learning about this with Palantir AI at the edge, right? In their Meta Constellation product. To have AI happen on-prem on the device is not easy to do. And it takes a lot of sophistication, but it can do a lot more things. Siri, when you say, hey, schedule me a meeting, it doesn't have to connect to some cloud if it's using AI-enabled hardware on the actual platform, on the phone itself, right? Which is not easy. And so Apple's probably going to have to go through a lot of innovation, but that's probably why they canceled their Titan project, because they were like, look, if we make a device that's basically like a virtual assistant on steroids, which is that we already have 2 billion people that use this thing every day, we're going to sell a shit ton of these. We're going to sell way more than the car. Let's pivot to this. And it takes an incredible amount of technology and engineering. So I'm assuming that's what they're working on right now. And that inference on the device is going to be exciting. And maybe that's why Apple's going to be a stock to own over the next 5 years. But as of now, I think the market's waiting for it to see. Snowflake's getting hammered, down 4.9%. I'll just say this. Palantir community got Snowflake right. We got Snowflake right, dude. We figured out this thing. The reason Frank Slootman left is probably because the growth is slowing down, and also it's just not that exciting to stay at 65 years old. By the way, Karp is 56. It's not like Karp is that much younger than Frank Slootman. They're both getting up there, but Karp's excited because he's a founder working. He has the energy of a 22-year-old building a startup. And you got Frank Slootman, who's just tired. And when you have leadership that's tired, and you give leadership to some random new guy that the street has no idea who he is, basically blindsides their entire investor base. You're gonna get the street really upset. And so Snowflake down about 5%. Just not getting the street to be excited about what's going on. And their growth is slowing down, dude. That's the other thing. If the growth is slowing down, then it's also something where the street can't be that excited about buying. Thomas says, I think the supply issues we saw last year shows how unexpected the AI uptick was, even for NVIDIA and OpenAI. Yeah, dude, every company in the world that's doing anything meaningful needs the chips from the company that's on the screen right now. I mean, we talk about robotics, right? We talk about Figure and Tesla. These guys need NVIDIA chips to run the neural nets on those robots in order to make them be robotic. So everyone needs these guys, and that's not going away. At some point, we have to come to the conclusion it's not going away. The market realizes that. After this earnings, the market really realized that. Robinhood now under 17. And it's becoming obvious that it's all right, if that's the world we're living in, then we have to really take that seriously. Coinbase right now at 222 as well. NVIDIA 848, or Palantir 2378. So Palantir down 4%. We got a nice dip there. Got to buy up a little bit of that dip. SMCI 18%. It's trying to hit 11 hundo. It's past the Bank of America target. Deckers, let's look at these guys. They got into the S&P. Deckers is up 2.4%. There you go. Decker, $23 billion company. S&P inclusion. That definitely helped them out. Definitely helped them out right now. Celsius up 5%, HIMS up 6.937%. We're seeing a lot of momentum there. Again, Robin at 1692 up 2%, and Palantir 2381 down about 4.4%. All right, folks, that is it for me. Let's do the word of the day, and then I'll be back at 1 p.m. We've got a Robinhood conference. I'll stream that live. We'll see what their CEO has to say at the JP Morgan Technology Conference. And then we'll be back for a market close. So I'll be here pretty much the whole day. Word of the day is Pilcrow.
Pilcrow.
A paragraph mark. The editor asked the writer to insert pilcrows to indicate new paragraphs. Students learning about typography are usually introduced to the concept of a pilcrow. This is a boring ass word. We're going to do another word. This is fucking boring. Word of the day. Let's find something else. Pilcrow. Goodness. Fucking pilcrow. Paragraph mark. No one cares about a paragraph mark. Okay, let's look at this one. Salubrious.
Salubrious.
Salubrious. Salubrious is a formal word that means favorable to or promoting health or well-being. Okay. So, if you are in a certain environment where you are long on Bitcoin and you have a good average, Bitcoin is very salubrious. It's promoting some decent well-being, even if it's financial well-being for your health. Salubrious. Good word. Promoting health. I like that one. Promoting golf. There we go. All right. Good stuff. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Chris says, dude, you are wrong about Snowflake. You really need to do some research. Chris, I'm part of your Patreon. I'm looking forward to your research. If anyone wants to join Chris's Patreon, type in Chris Patel, Google Patreon. You'll find it. He says he's still short Palantir, long Snowflake. I think Chris is probably right that Snowflake doesn't deserve to be down this much, but I think long-term, I don't think there's anything that exciting about enterprise AI platforms that they're enabling. I think they're a lake house. I talked to a couple people over the weekend actually about Snowflake, and a lot of them said they weren't that excited. These are more technical people. Now, granted, they weren't the most excited about Palantir, but they also definitely said that Snowflake doesn't, make them think they need to really get into this dip. Like everyone I've talked to said they're not buying the Snowflake dip. Now, they're not buying Palantir at 24. They think that's a little stretched, but they're definitely not buying the Snowflake dip. So it's interesting. Let's see the DD he comes up with. If you are not part of Chris' Patreon, it's like $10 a month. I would recommend joining it. And I know he's working on a big DD on Snowflake. So let's see. When something drops a lot, Chris becomes an assassin and he tries to see if there's an opportunity. That's what he did with Celsius. That's what he did with Palo Alto. So I'm assuming that's what he's going to do with Snowflake. And the question is if the DD is going to be good enough to see this guy rebound. I think it could rebound. I just don't know long term. Do you want to be long on Palantir or Snowflake over the next decade? I mean, I pick Palantir, but maybe there's something there to Snowflake, and we'll see in the DD. Lusty Bigger says, Amit, just buy one share of SMCI. Trust me, bro, just to be emotionally invested. It has a good thesis. We should have done it at 600. We should have just bought one of them just for the hell of it. It would have been fun, right? We should have done it just for it to be fun. All right. That's it. It is what it is. Thank you, everybody, for joining. I'll be back 1 p.m. I was going to have someone join lunch with Amit, but they'll join tomorrow. They were going to talk to me about Bitcoin. So we were going to have a Bitcoin lunch. We'll do that tomorrow, and we'll stream the Robinhood conference at 1 p.m. And then we'll stream the JPOW hearing on Wednesday. That testimony we'll stream him as well. Why are miners down? If miners are down, the primary reason is because Bitcoin's probably falling, or not Bitcoin's falling. Bitcoin's 66,300. It's probably because they've run up a lot over the past couple of days, over the past weeks, and so the market's kind of not front running them as much as they're going to front run them. But if Bitcoin explodes, dude, these miners are going to explode. It just might take some time in order for that to actually happen. Okay, cool stuff. Thank you, everybody. I'll see you at 1 p.m. and then we'll be back for market close at 3:45 p.m. Thank you, everybody. Have a good one. Get some breakfast, get some lunch. I'll see you guys in a couple hours. Bye, everyone.